the Free Syrian Army. American media and politicians told of glorious freedom fighters picking up a gun for democracy and human rights, and the USA wasn't afraid to show its support.
The United States has been one of the biggest supporters, whether it's politically, whether it's financially, in a range of manners of the moderate opposition, including the Free Syrian Army.
The administration is staking its efforts in Syria on the Free Syrian Army.
Aid and assistance that we're going to give to the Free Syrian Army is used to advance the cause against ISIL.
Watch the transformation of the Free Syrian Army as well. Early on, have they gotten markedly better, or is it just me?
Well, guess what? Forces fighting under the FSA's latest incarnation are now attacking the United States.
As part of the deconfliction exchange, information has been received from the U.S. side that on 3rd November, a convoy of American servicemen was fired upon from the territory controlled by the pro-Turkish Syrian National Army.
So how did this happen? How does a group go from being worthy of U.S. support, weapons, and training to being terrorists who attack Americans? Well, let's review the process of the FSA's evolution. As the Syrian conflict escalated, they were presented as a soft force to counter the, quote, brutal regime of Bashar al-Assad. Western journalists even visited them.
They are former Syrian soldiers. They say they refused orders to fire on their own countrymen and so decided to take up arms against the Assad regime.
They're a pretty gnarly bunch for a soft force, but who pays attention to these details? Western media fell in love with them, and their commander, Salam Idris, even got a surprise visit from John McCain. The U.S. senator slipped across Syria's border so he could meet with America's dream team fighting against the Syrian government. And since then, Salam even appeared on major TV networks in the United States.
I spoke with General Salam Idris just moments ago. He's head of the Free Syrian Army.
I spoke earlier today to rebel leader General Salam Idris. He connected with us via Skype from inside Syria.
Idris spoke to State Department correspondent Margaret Brennan in Turkey.
In 2014, the Pentagon splurged $500 million on Syrian opposition groups to the now infamous Train and Equip program. The goal was pretty glorious: 5,000 soldiers a year for the following 3 years. However, at the end of the day, the mathematical calculations ended up with a pretty big margin of error.
It's a small number, and the ones that are in the fight is we're talking four or five. The overall goal is to make sure that we have enough mass to be able to get work done on the ground.
A lot of the weapons and money spent ended up in the hands of terrorist groups like ISIL or the al-Nusra Front, fine use of U.S. taxpayers' money. And since then, the U.S.-trained fighting force seems to have almost disappeared. But now they're back. We've got the Syrian National Army. This is a totally new organization with dozens of different factions, 80,000 total fighters approximately. And guess who their Minister of Defense is? Well, you guessed it, it's Major Salam Idris. But he's got a completely new script now. He is no longer a big fan of the Stars and Stripes. As the Syrian conflict twists and turns, you have to ask yourself, who is the United States going to end up supporting next, and how long until they turn against the United States again?